Warning: the No AC Only Fans podcast may include content not suited for non-mature audiences who can't take a joke. We would like to apologize to absolutely fucking nobody. Enjoy.
Welcome in to the No AC Only Fans podcast with your host, Big Crispy, aka Big Sippin', aka Tyler Gump. Sitting across the table like always, it's my main man, Christian Klein.
Hey, what's up, people? We're in a unique setting tonight.
Hey.
And we have our special guest, the owner of and founder of SlapStik Comedy. Mecha. I always forget how to say your last name. Is it like
Swain?
Swain?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't want to get it wrong. And I mean, this is a very special episode. It's a connection that we made through my work and everything, and having you on, and like it was just one of those things. I reached out to you. You know, our good friend Jackson told us about you. We reached out and we connected. At first, we were thinking we were just going to come through tonight, check out the space, and just talk a little bit. And then, you know, an hour or two later, here we are, and we're recording a podcast.
3.5 hours later.
We've been here for a while.
One thing leads to another when you start bullshit.
That's right. And we got our vodka.
Yes. And
Gatorade.
That is true. And the one thing, like, you know, we definitely have a deep dive to go into your, like, story and stuff like that, because there's so much to learn about you and stuff, and just the stories like we've talked about. You've had a long history in the entertainment world, basically. So I would love to be able to start there. I was like, what is that noise?
At first, when we cut it on, we were like, is somebody breaking in?
This is the ice maker, people. It's just the ice maker.
Should I cut it off?
No, you're good.
Okay.
I don't think it was loud enough to pick up on the audio track. I think I just heard it out by peripheral. But like, let's start back to the journey. Let's get to know you first, and then let's start from there, and then we'll talk about all the big things and life stories and things like that. If you would love to tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I would love to tell you all about me. So, as my man, he had like 50 names, but
Big Crispy. That's what most people call me.
Big Chris.
As my man Big Crispy said, I am the founder and CEO of Mecha Media and SlapStik Comedy Entertainment. Mecha Media is my production company, and I created a brand called SlapStik because I wanted to create a platform to showcase comedians. Mm-hmm. So with that, I started SlapStik Comedy Magazine, radio, and TV.
And it's been a success. And like let's go from there then, from the beginning. So with you starting this company, let's take it back to what got you into the entertainment world. Like when we were discussing your college days and stuff like that going through.
Yeah, so I've always been interested in media. So like I said, when I was in like 7th and 8th grade, I was the school broadcaster. And then I got to go to all the news all the news stations and visit the studios. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool. This is what I want to do. I thought I was going to be like the news girl. And then I ended up going to New York. Then when I was in high school, I went back to New York. Was still in love with media. And then I went to college, and my major was communications, and I studied broadcasting and journalism. So I'm like, this is where I want to be. Yeah. Went back to New York again. Then I ended up landing an internship at MTV and BET. And I just super excited. I met so many people. I got to learn a lot. And then the towers fell. So I had to come back to Ohio and create my own shit. And here's the birth of Slapstick.
So you started that out of your garage, right?
Yeah, well, at first, we were in my living room. Not even my living room. We were in my dining room. I ended up, so I started with the magazine, and then I brought on radio and TV. And then when I ended up starting the radio, we actually, I had 3 other comedians, and we ran the radio show in my freaking dining room. You guys, can you believe that?
Yeah, that's what's crazy is so that's not the first time I've heard somebody do it, but it's insane to me to think all these media companies and outlets and people that start you start slow and you start in a small environment. Do you know who like Pat McAfee is?
No.
So he used to be a punter at the Indianapolis Colts. And he kind of did the same thing. He took a risk. He quit his NFL career to pursue media.
Oh, wow.
And he has one of the biggest radio shows. He does a daily sports radio show now, and all this stuff. And he started out in his basement, and he got like 5 of his best friends to all quit their cozy jobs and record in his basement, and now they're millionaires.
That is super awesome.
And they build up a huge company and stuff like that. So like that's what you're working on, I should say, here at SlapStik.
Yeah.
Is, you want to build this brand, and you're working with some big names coming up in here that we'll talk about a little bit later and stuff like that. But the start of getting it in your dining room. So who was all involved with you in the beginning? How did you, what equipment did you have back then? How did you get all that stuff? Because I'm sure it was a startup.
Yeah.
Juicy stories.
So the crazy part is I lucked up, and it was back in like Craigslist days. I think my vodka is kicking in, but it was in during the Craigslist days I'm trying to remember my timeline because what helped me was when I went on tour with Kevin Hart. I met so many new people.
Yeah,
and
which we definitely got to talk about.
Yeah, we definitely got to talk about that.
That we're going to discuss with.
So I met, like, the networking was amazing, and so many people, like, once we put out videos and just started doing all kinds of things, like the comedians would give me ideas like, you should do this and you should do that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to incorporate that into my business. So I ended up, when we started radio, I lucked up on Craigslist, and I ended up purchasing all of CCAD's radio equipment from their studio, like they were upgrading. And so I met with the professor, and to this day, I wish I remembered his name, but I ended up buying all of the equipment. I remember us meeting for coffee, and I had like a Mackie mixer. I remember getting like a nice Mackie mixer, and I remember buying my my monitors, my studio monitors, off of like some fancy website that I hope is still around because I didn't have money then, so I had to make payments on everything. And so it was a super cool website that someone suggested, and I got on there and I was able to make payments on some of my equipment. But that's how I started. Like, I worked in my dining room. I had 3 other comedians, and we just rolled with it. And then I ended up, so I had to stop SlapStik, which, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But then I ended up selling I bought another Mackie mixer, and then I sold it, and then that's when I got the one over there. But I ran the company out of my garage. Can you guys believe that? Like, I literally had my walls drywalled. I laid red carpet. Like, I completely laid it out. And then now I'm in a studio. I just opened the studio in January.
I know, and that's what's insane. That's literally that's the definition of going from the grind. You're going from making payments on equipment, which is crazy because nowadays you can make a fucking payment on Domino's app. You can make payments on pizza, man. If you're making payments on pizza, you shouldn't be buying pizza.
No, definitely
first off.
not.
But second off, like, you go from making payments, starting it in your dining room, and then you grew with those comedians you worked with and got to work with a ton more people, and then you moved to your garage. And then so happenly you contacted the company I work for now, and you got in touch with our good friend Jackson and found this place, which is amazing. And I love what you're doing with the studio. Like, we've complimented you on that already. Like, definitely, you guys definitely have to check you guys out online. We'll definitely put all your information down below, obviously, for everybody to check out. And the big thing that's come, because you know what? You might just get into a bigger studio space, and you might just keep growing and growing and growing.
And maybe we already found it.
Maybe it's right across the street.
It could be. Jackson.
Yeah, we're going to have to hit him up. I'm going to go into work tomorrow and be like, hey, man, so we got to work on a business deal, like, stat. But let's go back to, like, starting it out. So let's take you back when you were in the entertainment. So who was the first big name person that you worked with? Was it when you were working at MTV and BET, or was it before when you went on tour?
Well, when I worked at MTV and BET, I worked with like music artists. So I got to meet like Maxwell, and I was at MTV when I wasn't there during the hour, so can't say I really met him, but it was like the Carson Daly times, I'm telling my age, because I'm really only 25. But and then when I was at BET, I was there when AJ and Free were there, and that's when they had 106 in Park.
Oh yeah,
and that's actually how let me tell y'all this story. That's how I ended up getting to work for BET. Is my girlfriend Nikki and Nikki would always come and visit me when I moved to New York, and when we got there, like she helped me like literally drive the U-Haul and move to New York. And so as soon as we got there, my phone rang and I'm like, let me answer this, because it was like a New York number, and it was BET. They're like, hey, we have tickets for you to come on 106 in Park. I'm like, Nikki, we're going to the show tonight.
That's awesome.
It was super awesome.
Was it 106 in Park that they pulled up on Brett when they were trying to free Brett, or was that TRL? Or
that was TRL.
TRL probably. Yeah.
Yeah. One of our good friends that helped donate to the camera. Shout out to Brett.
Shout out Brett.
So he was actually locked up there for a minute, and the people were telling about Little Skies and Landon Q went on there, and they were shouting him out on there. They were like, free our friend Brett. He's locked up in jail.
Brett's a good friend.
Yeah, he is
great
friend. But like starting back from those days, you got to work with a lot of. Now, obviously, there's going to be people that listen to this podcast that know who we're talking about, and there's a lot of people that are younger than us that are going to be like, "Who the fuck are those?" It's like, yeah, go Google them.
Googling.
Yeah, Google them, because you don't know what you was missing out on. Basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you went from there. So why did you have to leave because the towers fell? Was that due to like, was your studio close to there, or was it just like you were unsafe? You felt unsafe. You wanted to move back.
The crazy part is I this is even crazier. I got so many crazy stories. Okay, so I woke up one morning and I was living in New York, and I was like, I need to go home. Like something told me to go home. This is about to get really deep.
Oh shit!
So I drove 12 hours by myself, and I made it home in time to meet up with Nikki at the Peacock or wherever bar it was, and I made it home by 11:30 because I wanted to go to the bar and have a drink. And I remember driving 12 hours nonstop so I could make it home in time. And Nikki was at the bar. And then the next morning I got up. I went to my Aunt Sheila's house because I thought my sons were there. They were actually with my mom at the time. But my aunt was like, hey, you need to sit down. So I sat down, and she was like, they arrested your dad. So long story short, this was like 2002.
Shit. Okay.
My father is still in prison. I never talk about this.
That's great.
Yeah.
I would have never. That's one of those things. Is like that's a crazy story.
It's a crazy story.
Like,
yeah.
We got to die. Like for him to be in there for that long. There has to
it's
be
insane.
Like a major thing.
They call him a kingpin, quote unquote.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he's in there for drugs. But yeah, so my aunt was like, hey, you need to sit down. And, she told me that they arrested my dad like that morning. And I was like, oh my God.
Insane.
Like I drove home, like Friday, everything was like, go home. I don't even think it was a Friday. It was a Thursday. It was a Thursday because I remember packing 7 outfits before I left. And I was like, I'm just going to go home for like a week, get my kids. And we're all going back to New York together. I'm taking my kids with me.
Yeah.
And then so my aunt told me my dad got arrested, and this was 2002. So I'm trying to remember so then on a Thursday, so I probably got home on like a Monday. On a Thursday, I remember it was a Thursday because she always had Thursdays off, and I cannot stand this lady like to this day. But it's my kid's aunt. It's my kid's father's aunt. So yeah. She and I were on the phone for like an hour, and I was telling her like, hey, I'm going to go back to New York on Tuesday. I'm taking the boys with me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm begging you not to do it. She was like, don't go. Something's going to happen. Don't go. Don't go. And I'm like, this is weird. And I listened to her. I was on Nikki's couch. I woke up out to sleep, but she had the radio on, and that's when they told us the towers fell.
She just had an intuition.
Yes. Isn't that
so
crazy?
weird.
That's crazy.
And I don't talk to this lady. Like, I can't stand that bitch to this day. I cannot stand her. But I listened for some reason. And thank God I listened, because my kids and I would have been stuck. Like, stuck.
Because it was impossible to get out.
It was
like
impossible to
everything
get
was
out.
on lockdown at that point.
Yep. And at the time, I actually lived in Jersey. So I had to take the train to get to New York, which was like 50. Like, if I looked out my window, I could see New York, but I had to take the train to get over there.
Was it Newark? Did you live in Newark?
I lived in Jersey City.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I lived on JFK Boulevard.
Oh, shit.
And so, yeah, that's how close I was. And like, even the train ride was only like 15 minutes to get to New York.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And I listened and I did not take my kids. So I was stuck in Ohio for a while. And then eventually I went back and got my items and came back.
I was going to say, because like were you in an apartment at that
Yes.
time? I'm sure all that stuff was just sitting there.
Yeah.
And like,
well, I had roommates too.
oh,
so.
that's
but
good.
But still,
at
they were
least,
sleeping
yeah.
on my fucking couch. All that shit was there. Like they were sleeping on my couch.
That's the worst part about roommates is like you can't trust them with shit.
At all.
Unless you know them pretty good. You know what I mean?
It doesn't matter how good you know them. Some shit always comes up missing or moved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Always.
It's the worst.
It's crazy because it was me, Jessica, and Shangul. Shangul was my college roommate. Shangul actually is from Turkey.
Oh,
and
shit.
she actually moved back to Turkey, so I got to go visit her. But she'll be here in like another week. So
Oh, shit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm actually like my family, my grandpa came from Hungary. So
Nice.
we're Hungarian, and he came from Hungary on the boat when they were in the war at that time and stuff. And that story of like him just like, he said it took like 2 weeks to get here from boat.
Oh, damn.
Back in the day when he came here, I was like, dude, I couldn't imagine being on a boat for 2 weeks like that. Especially back in the day, it wasn't as nice as like a cruise ship or something.
Hell no.
Because like being seasick and shit, like screw that. But yeah, Turkey. I mean, Turkey's definitely a place I would want to visit. It looks so beautiful.
It was gorgeous, you guys. That is where I want to buy. That's where I want my second residency to be. Someday I'm going to have a home in Turkey. That's my plan.
Awesome. And it's good that you stayed connected with her for all this time. Because like a lot of people make connections in college, like you've made with people. And like, you give it 5-10 years, it falls out. But
Oh, yeah, for sure.
to keep that connection for a lifetime, that's a special friendship, I'm sure.
Yeah, but that's my sister. That's what she always tells me. She's like, yeah, I just love Shangul. And I can't wait to see you next week, Shangul. Oh, yeah.
Now we're transitioning there. You come back to Ohio and you started SlapStik, right?
Okay, so when I came back to Ohio, I was embarrassed. I worked at TGI fucking Fridays, and I had to go back there and get another fucking job.
I hate that place.
Yeah, and that's actually when Shangul and I got our apartment together. We got a condo together, and it was super nice. We got a condo together. I went back to TGI Fridays and worked. She worked there too. We went to school together, and then I went back to school. I went back to my school, the same school, and then that's when I started writing for my student newspaper because I wanted to be a news anchor. That was my goal. I wanted to be a news anchor. I never wanted to write, but my last elective was a journalism class, and I actually started to like writing. And then like I thought it was one thing I've always done since I was a teenager was read the newspaper. And so they teach you like the sections of the newspaper, which was interesting to me because it's like on Sundays they have this, this, and this. And then on Tuesdays, they don't have this, this, and this, but they have this, this, and this. So once I caught on, I was like, oh, that's fucking cool, you know? So then our professor, Bruce, he pulled me to the side after class. Actually, when I walked into class, he was like, hey, I want to talk to you after class. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do? He's like, oh, just wait after class. I need to talk to you about something. So he offered me a position. He was like, I think your articles are really good and we're hiring for the student newspaper. You should consider writing. And I'm like, all right. So I didn't see myself doing it, but then there was this other guy in my class. He was a black guy too. And he wrote, and he and Bruce had like a really good relationship. And I was like, you know what? This might be a cool position. So I applied, I got the job. And my first assignment was the MLK March.
Oh, shit.
And it was super dope. Like they gave me a camera and I was like, I'm about to rock this out. So, and I'm a people person. So I was just down there, like the march was in front of our college campus. And so, and it was like so packed. Everybody was there. So I got to go out and like literally create. I got to interview people. I got to take all the pictures I want. And then after that, long story short, I'm cutting around, but my article started making front page and my friends were like, you know what? You should. Okay, I got to tell this part. We all had my friends and I didn't live in dorms. We were grown. So all of us had our own apartments and we were drinkers.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it.
That's why like I think you were in a dorm, right, for like a year or so. And then you just got a place with some people because, man, them dorms suck. They're small.
They
and
do
I'm sorry,
suck.
but I've seen some dorms and like, like your dorm especially, how it was like, here's a bed, and you got like 5 feet of walking space. I'm like, man, if I'm trying to bring a girl back, or if I'm trying to do my business, I don't want to be having another dude right next to me 5 feet away.
Right.
Like that ain't comfortable.
I'm like, how do you fuck? Like how do y'all, I asked some people, like, how do y'all do that? I couldn't imagine.
Put that sock on that door. Is that what you do?
Sometimes you just got to do it while they sleep. I mean,
oh man, that's crazy.
That's wild.
After you done had a couple drinks, you don't care anymore.
You don't care, yeah.
But they always know. They may not say they know, but they'll bring it up in the future like, hey, I know what you was doing.
I mean, I
know what
can't say
you're doing.
I've been in that situation before where like I have had 2 older brothers, and I've been in a situation before, where I'm like staying in the area or something with them, and like you hear like it wakes you up. You're like, man, what the fuck is going on? And you like open your eye a little bit, and you're like, what the fuck? But you just try to go back to sleep, man. I did that the one time. I had to put headphones in. I was like, man, I'm just trying to get some sleep.
that should happen to me once with Brett, the guy we're talking about. We were all laying in his room and watching TV or whatever. His girl was in the bed, and I was just chilling on the ground because we would all watch movies together and shit. I fell asleep, and then I kind of woke up, and all I heard was, she's like, "No, stop! He's in the room." And he goes, "I do this all the time. He's a deep sleeper."
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny. Shout out to 50 Cent, by the way. This vodka is like so smooth and delicious.
Yeah.
And thank you for providing
endorsement.
And thank you for providing us with some delicious drinking this time.
Of course.
But so you get in college, you're working back at TGI Fridays, you start writing articles. Mm-hmm. So what's the next step from there? Where did you jump up? The next big thing. I guess you were continuing your story.
Yeah, I was. Okay, so we would have slumber parties because we all had our own apartments. So we would have slumber parties, and I remember all of us girls being in the room, and we were drunk as fuck. And then one of the girls, I don't want to say her name because I don't like her anymore, and she doesn't like me either. But she passed around the newspaper, and she was like, "Look, guys!" Like she was like really proud of me, genuinely. And she's like, "Misha's articles are making front page." And I'm like, "You guys look at the student newspaper." And so I was like, she was like, "You should start your own thing." And I was like, she's like, a magazine. And I was like, that's actually a really good idea. I never thought of that because at that time I was like, writing is my thing. Yeah. And so when I worked at TGI Fridays, and there were a couple other girls that I worked with we were pretty much in the same major. So I talked to them about it. What we used to do, like we were trying to figure out, like we knew we wanted a magazine, but my thing was I didn't want something that was already created. Like they are fashion's covered, sports is covered. I wanted something different. And at that time, I did not watch TV at all. Like I never watched TV, but if I watched anything, it was a comedy show or something that would make me laugh. Yeah. So I was like, ding, 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 comedy. That's what it's going to be. And that's how I came up with SlapStik.
And that's awesome. So like when you started out in the days when you were doing your magazine and everything, were you starting out with like a big magazine? Or was it like, I had a 4-page magazine, or you build it up from there? Or do you remember how big or little it was starting off? Because I feel like writing a whole magazine on your own has to be a challenge.
Has to be.
Especially like if you're starting out, I'm sure you had to pick categories and different events and stuff and then kind of go from there.
Yep. My first magazine, I still have it in there. I'm going to have to show you guys before you leave. It was like maybe 10 pages. Literally.
That's awesome that you kept the first one still from there. Did you get them printed out or was it still all digital?
The first one I got printed, and then after that, I didn't print anymore. The only ones we printed were like mock-ups that we wanted to give out for free.
So that's basically what you did, is you just handed it out for free at that rate to get exposure.
Exactly.
And obviously this is kind of like before the internet blew up, where people were blogging, putting magazines on. So like people thinking like, why didn't she just post it online? It's like, that's why.
Yeah.
It was word of mouth. It was whatever you handed out. How long of you doing that until you were you charging it ever eventually, or did you just do it for free the whole time?
I did it for free the whole time. I wanted my exposure. I wanted to try to get the name out. And at that time, there was it might have been like MySpace era, actually. Like it wasn't shit at the time. There was really no social media. And so you know how much it costs to like advertise at that time. It was like super expensive because that was the only way. And I didn't have that money. So I just did what I had to do. So I just printed my magazine for free. I actually had like a sugar daddy, and he paid for everything for me.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I had a sugar daddy. He paid for everything for me, and that's how I pretty much got my magazine.
Nowadays, you can advertise your baby daddy on a billboard for $10 and then complain about it on Facebook 30 minutes later about how crappy of a daddy he is. We have a friend like that. I saw it. She posted it. She made him a billboard for Father's Day. was very loving, like nice to do. And then literally 30 minutes later, it's up on Facebook. My baby daddy's such a piece of shit. And I was like, come on, girl you can't be doing that.
Right.
So you got your exposure and stuff. And then what is your first big break after your exposure? Who reached out to you first? Who did you start working with?
The first big comedian that I worked with was Don D.C. Curry. They have a competition in Oakland, California. It's called the Bay Area Black Comedy Competition. It's ran by Tony Spires. And so I got to go there and meet Uncle Elroy. Y'all know who that is from Friday, right? You know what I'm saying? So I got to work with him. That's awesome
you got to see him and work with him.
We are still friends to this day. I actually had some, you know how Facebook memories show up? He showed up a few times. So yeah, then after that, my next big person was... The cool thing is, so Don D.C. Curry was like the first comedian that I worked with that made it. But I met Kevin Hart before he actually made it. So
you knew Kevin. So like that's the thing that was cool. I seen your picture on Twitter with Kevin Hart. You knew this man before he was even Kevin Hart. Like before he was the big. Was he going by an alias then, or was it just still? Just
he was still Kevin Hart. Yeah,
and that's crazy. And like at that time, was he in his starting out stages of his comedy career, or was he like shortly into it?
He had been around for a while. He was starting to get his name. We met for the first time. It was June 16th, 2008. Like I just remember it so well.
Because I'm trying to think of when the first time I heard of Kevin Hart was.
Probably Seriously Funny or something like that.
Well, like, I mean, whatever the skit is, the one where he talks about his mama cursing. I think that, or his dad wearing the gray sweatpants. I think those were like some of the first things I've heard of him. But like before, nobody knew who he was, and then he blew up at that time. I don't remember when that special was released, but I mean, you're talking about like way like this is before like comedy specials that came out. I mean, like, let's think who had big comedy specials back then. Chris Rock. Chris Rock had a pretty big comedy special in the 90s and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, he was huge.
I'm trying to think who else had big comedy
Dave
specials.
Chappelle, of course.
Yeah. Starting out. And I'm trying to think who else really had huge comedy specials like that.
Richard Pryor.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy. Like it was those
I forgot about Eddie Murphy. I always forget like
Jerry Seinfeld.
Was Jim Carrey trying to do his comedy at that time?
Who?
Jim Carrey. Oh, you remember he was like, he was doing it shortly after his movies kind of blew up, and I feel like it would have been around that range.
The Mask was in the 90s.
Right, but he tried to do stand-up, and I think it was in the early 2000s.
Maybe,
Mid-2000s.
Yeah.
But, like, a lot of big names are out there, so Kevin Hart has a lot of shoes to fill.
Yeah.
But he's starting to gain some traction and stuff. Mm-hmm. So where does it go from there? You work with some of these comedians. You're out there. Were you out in Oakland when the competition was going on?
Yes. I was out in Oakland when the competition was going on, and I met, I literally came back with, business cards, a stack that was this big. Shit. And then I was so convinced that I was going to be okay. The crazy part was I was 26, 27 at the time. I was 27. I had just bought my house. I bought a house and I just bought a new car. And I came back and I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm quitting my day job. My mom was so pissed off. We didn't talk for weeks, and we communicated by email. I don't even think text messaging was big at that time. We talked by email because she was so pissed off because of what I did, and I still don't regret anything. No. But yeah, it was I still ran my company. I still did SlapStik. And then I ended up moving to Vegas, and I met more comedians, of course.
Is that when you met Ralphie May?
I met Ralphie May in... It had to be I think it was 2008 when I met Ralphie May.
Oh, shit. So around that time.
Yeah.
Yep. Which, rest in peace, Ralphie May.
Rest in peace.
I wish he was around to this day, but that.
Me too.
And you talked about, that was one of the all-time greatest comedians you could know because he had a hookup everywhere he went.
Yep. And everywhere he went. And the magazine that I'm going to show you, Ralphie May is on the cover.
Oh, the first one you did?
Yep.
That is awesome. Yep. Did you get an interview with him, or did you just...
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it's in there, but every time he came to Columbus, we interviewed him. And I kept in touch. At the time, his manager was Stacy Pokluda. Our birthdays are a day apart. So we kept in touch constantly. Cool. And she always made sure I was in a loop of what was going on with Ralphie May so I could publish it. And yeah, every time he came to Columbus, we got together every time he came.
That's awesome. Like, that's like
It's
when we said, that's
crazy.
like one of those comedians that like, that's definitely like a 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's big names that you want to meet and stuff like that. And that, like, that's one of those comedians like I always loved. He was probably like one of the first big comedians that I got into.
Mhm.
And I just loved all of his work. I would go on, you know, obviously when we were younger, when YouTube like first came out, I don't even think YouTube may have been out. I think this was, what was that, the other video platform that was out? What was that? You know what I'm talking about? Break.com. Maybe that's what it was or whatever.
I think
It was like
so.
the red and black one, and it was like
Yeah.
a viral video platform. And I think that's when I started discovering his stuff, as I would just go on there and search Ralphie May and like find things and whatever. This is like before the obviously internet got as big as it is
Right.
now.
Yeah.
But like now you can literally find him on anything.
Anything.
And it's awesome. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just go back and watch all that old stuff, and people are still like kind of coming up with new stuff because like a lot of like are recovering these old videos and stuff that are like on tapes and shit, and
Yeah.
they're converting them to be able to post them on social media, which is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Because like I'm sure that picture with you and Kevin Hart, like obviously you didn't have a smartphone back then. So
Yeah.
was that just taken with a regular camera, or somebody whip out their flip phone and they're like,
I know.
I got this,
How
man.
was that taken? Like, that's crazy. 2008, yeah, because at that time I just had like a little green LG phone. I remember.
Yeah. The LG chocolate.
Yeah.
That shows your age, man. Those things were sweet.
Yeah.
The little razor. You remember the Juke or whatever, that
Yeah.
really thin phone?
Yep.
I remember I knew somebody that had that. I'm like, how the fuck you text on that thing? It's like 2 buttons per thing. I was like, that thing sucked, man.
I thought I was the shit when I had my razor.
Those razors, they were something, huh? They were the shit.
So you meet Kevin Hart and stuff, right? And then we were talking with like Ralphie May and everybody. And then you go from there. What happened after, like before you went on tour and stuff? You're still kind of, you moved to Vegas. Where are we going from here?
So I ended up writing for the Columbus Funny Bone. I got to write on Wednesday nights. And then I was like super consistent because the deal was whenever I wrote, I had to send it to the owner of the Funny Bone. And then he would approve for me to publish it.
Were you writing like just articles, or were you writing jokes for comedians?
I was writing articles. Like I would write
Okay.
like the show reviews and, just it would be like content to hype up the club.
So you were doing
Yeah.
this when you were in Vegas? You were writing for
Oh, no, I
Columbus?
was here in Columbus
Okay.
when that was happening.
Was this before or after you moved to Vegas?
It was before. It had to be before because even when I came back from Vegas, I still worked with the Funny Bone.
They're all
Yeah.
over the country.
They are.
Okay, so you were writing for them.
Mhm.
You decided to move out to Vegas.
Yes.
What was your adventures in Vegas that you took part in?
So Vegas was, I just want to say Vegas was cool, but it was like one of those places, you know how you go and you're like, oh, this shit is fucking fabulous. This is where I want
Yeah.
to be. That's how I felt about Vegas. Like, I was like, I want to move here. I'm so excited every time I come. Like, all this liquor, I just got to go to the
All this
casino and
liquor.
Yeah.
get free drinks. I can pretend like I'm gambling and get
Throw
some
a
little-
penny in the penny slots
Yeah,
every hour or something.
be fucked up. And so yeah, I was like, this is where I want to be. But when I got to Vegas, it was like literally on my second day, I was like, what the fuck did I do? That's how
Oh,
I felt.
shit.
Like, what did I do?
You start walking down the strip and see some of the shit that's hanging out around there. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
I was like bored and like really mad at myself. And I missed my kids. I missed my sons like crazy. They stayed with my mom while I went. And I still thank you, Mom, for that. I still appreciate you helping me. And yeah, I got really bored in Vegas, so I wanted to come back to. What really made me want to come back to Ohio was my oldest son, Nigel. He goes, Mom, he said, Taven's my youngest son. He said, Taven feels like you chose your business over us. That broke my heart.
Damn.
So I stopped doing SlapStik so in 2008, my dad died. My dad was like my biggest supporter. He kept my kids whenever I had to travel or whatever. And we lived like right down the street from each other. So my dad would either stay at my house or like my dad's home was right by my son's school. Like
Yeah.
the school was literally in my dad's backyard. So it was nothing. Like he could take them to school and go right to work or, you know what I mean? So it was like
Yeah.
super convenient.
Perfect.
So yeah, then I feel to this day, that's probably the only regret I have in my life is like uprooting my kids, and they had to get used to. like a whole different situation. They had to go somewhere where they didn't know anybody, and you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's kind of like a learning lesson, and I guess that teaches them at a young age about networking, you know, like you got to learn how to meet people.
You have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things if you listen to like comedians and stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
And one of I think it was Andrew Schultz and Bert Kreischer were talking about, and they broke down and they had an emotional moment on one of Bert's podcasts, and they were talking about the sacrifice, like the things you miss out on.
Oh man.
Like Bert was talking about missing his girls' swim meets and games and all this stuff. And like he was a dad that wasn't present, but he had to be out there on the road making money and being away from his children and stuff because that was his job. That was his life. But now he gets to enjoy it a little bit more. His kids are older and he's home a little bit more. Because I think that's when he was doing Travel Channel and stuff back then.
Yeah.
And like just hearing those, like even nowadays, like Andrew Schultz is pretty young. And he's talking about going out on the road and stuff. And he's like, a lot of these TV deals and stuff that they offer people pull you away from your family. And a lot of comedians and stuff won't do the TV deals now because of how much time it takes you away.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the sacrifice you have to, if you want to make money in this world, you have to sacrifice something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And sadly, a lot of times that's, you know, your family life is what is the choice that gets sacrificed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why I made the choice. I said, you know what? I'm going back to Ohio. I am going to get my kids back and I'm just going to raise them. And I said, I will bring SlapStik back once my youngest son graduates from high school. My oldest graduated in 2016. My youngest graduated in 2018. And then I brought SlapStik back in 2020 in my garage.
Which is crazy to think about, like, you know, the year of COVID of all things.
Yes.
You may
So
have
that's
shit
like
else to
definitely
do.
right?
Yeah, but that's a hard time to start a business, honestly.
Yeah.
But luckily enough, your business is a business like you don't need a storefront.
Right.
So like you didn't have to worry about COVID and stuff. Everybody has time to indulge in stuff. So it was kind of a good start back up for you. Let's take it back then. So when did you go on tour with Kevin Hart? When did this start? When you started touring with him? Was this recent? Like
Oh no, it
this was back
like,
in the day,
yeah,
right?
like 2009ish. I got to
Okay.
go. So in oh yeah, because I remember like, so I wasn't like on tour with him to where, because I just want to clarify this because I don't want people to think like, oh, she flew around the world with Kevin. Like I would like meet up with them while he was at like a certain place. Like, hey, we're gonna do Nashville this week, and I remember. When he went to Nashville, I was working on like one of the issues of my magazine because I remember like I would set up my own tours, like even for myself. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go to this show in the South, so I'm going to hit Nashville, then I'm going to go to North Carolina, I'm going to go to Atlanta. Like I would go and like cover all areas, and then I remember Rodney Perry doing the cover of my magazine, and I stopped in Atlanta. And I stayed in Atlanta for like 2 or 3 days and worked with him to do my shows. So it would be like, you know, I wasn't at all of the shows. I got to you know, just get enough content and the opportunity to network with other comedians and like, oh, this is another comedian I get to work with now. And like we set up interviews and, you know, just... That is a weird...
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, boom, something's breaking down.
And it's so spontaneous. You're like, I didn't even expect that to come. I should be used to it, but we're talking about the ice machine here. Yeah, so I would just, like I said, I would just set up my own tours so that I could cover content. But yeah, it was like 2011, 2012, I stopped until my sons graduated. And here I am full time. There's no stopping at this point.
So you made a lot of connections along the way. Did you became friends with some of Kevin Hart's people, right? Or do you still talk to him to this day in an extent of who you work with?
Yep.
And then one thing we were talking about is Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
So you have a connection in there with there. How did you become friends with? You said it was Molly.
Molly,
right?
that's my girl to this day.
Yeah, how did that whole connection come about and meeting him and like everything? How did that relationship build with what you did?
So when this was, I was back in Ohio and I was back in college and Molly and I like, I don't know, we were like hanging out or something. And like I said, she pretty much grew up with Dave Chappelle in Yellow Springs. And she was like, hey, let's get tickets and go to the show. I'm like, all right, of course. And she's like, I want you to meet Dave. You have to meet him. You have to meet him. Well, the show is like sold out.
Of course it is.
So she ended up contacting his sister, and she called his sister, and his sister answered, like, what's up, Molly? And she's like, hey, I got a big favor to ask you. Like, she's like, I have a friend here. She has a magazine. It's a comedy magazine. I really want her to meet Dave. The show is sold out. She's like, is there a way that we can get tickets? Like, is there anything you can work out? So his sister was like, well, let me find out and I'll call you back. His sister called back in like 5 minutes, literally, and was like, hey, Dave's going to give you tickets. He has you guys like on his guest list, and we got to go backstage. I'll show you guys a picture. Like, we hung out. It was like super cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Super
You'd
cool.
have to send that away. I'll pop it up on the screen for the people to see. That's what we like to do. We'll throw it up and post it.
Yeah, I got pictures of Ralphie May and I. Like, I'll send you all that.
I know, that's what's crazy is like, that's the funny thing is like, it's one thing to like, you almost are starstruck by these people. So when you meet somebody that's met them, you're like, oh man, like, people to meet these people.
It's super
cool. That's one of
cool.
those things you would never think. You're like, if I was walking down the street, it's like, unless I'm in Yellow Springs and I happen to run into Dave Chappelle, I feel like I would never meet him unless, like this podcast builds and stuff like that. And we eventually work together with him or something. That's like one thing I would love. He's one of those that you would love to, like, who wouldn't? Like, we love the Chappelle Show. Like, we Tyrone Biggums and all them. Like, we loved all of his characters and shit. And we quote it to the daily still, you know what I mean? It's just
all
like,
the time.
there's some that shit is just, that's comedy gold. That's something that's going to live on forever. Like, that's getting passed from generation to generation.
Yeah. And the cool thing is at that time, Comedy Central used to send out, like, when they wanted to promote, they would send out DVDs. So I got the full Dave Chappelle kit at no cost. Like, it just arrived at my front door, and Comedy Central's like, hey, look at the whole thing. My sons loved it. It was super cool.
That's awesome.
It was super awesome.
That's all. Like, so that's another connection you build. And then you start back up SlapStik Media. We'll kind of move along now to the more, common thing now.
Okay.
So now you're building back up and you start in your garage. Who's the first people you have on? Who you're starting it with and everything. We'll kind of go from there.
Okay. So I hosted the show, and we really didn't have a name for the show, but I was the host. Stephen G was my co-host, and one comedian that I appreciate that came was Howie Bell. Do you guys know who Howie Bell is? I love Howie. I consider him to be like my brother, because every time he comes to Columbus, we hang out. Like, he's like, I'm on my way to your house. I don't care if I have to Uber. I'm on my way.
That's one of the awesome things too, is like, you build these relationships with these people, and like, even though they get big or whatever and they start touring, they don't forget about you.
They don't forget about you.
And they come back to see you, and they love you so much that they're like, hey, we're gonna hit you up. We're gonna hang out. They're in this town for only short periods of time, probably, maybe a couple days at most. And they're like, somewhere in those couple days, I'm squeezing in time to come see you.
Yeah, like, I feel that way about Michael Blackson too. Like, he's a pretty good friend of mine, and like, when it used to be, whenever he came into Columbus, he would be like, hey, I'm going to be at the airport. He would always get me by saying, he would go, I don't want anybody. I don't trust anybody's driving. I need you to come to the airport and get me. And I'm like, man, I don't even feel like fucking doing that, because I remember one night we went to a club. The club was literally like up the street from my house, but I had to leave my house, go to Easton, come back to my side of town, like, then drop him back off at Easton, and then go right back. Like, it was just like, but that was my friend. So, and I know he would do it for me.
Yeah.
So, and Michael and I, we've been really good friends since like 2011, because I used to book shows for NBA players. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. They had a budget, so hell yeah, I'll fucking take on that task.
Who's some of your best NBA players you booked shows for?
One guy, I started off with Daquan Cook. I believe he plays overseas now, but he used to play for like Thunder.
Kansas City Thunder.
Yes, he used to play for them.
Oklahoma Thunder.
Oklahoma, yep. Thunder.
City
He
Thunder.
played for Heat.
The
Miami Heat. Yep, he played for them. I can't remember, but I believe he's overseas playing now. But yeah, so I used to book his shows, and it was super awesome. Super awesome, because he had the budget to book the big names, and I had the connections, so I would make it happen for him.
That's what's awesome too, is because like, you probably had a good enough connection to where like the comedians that you were good friends with were like, oh yeah, I can give you a discount. I ain't gonna charge you.
Yeah, and
much,
I think that's why people came to me
nice.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, like that, and that's awesome to have, is like just have that connection, like being able to know somebody. Like that's the big thing with like us meeting you and stuff, and like when you're like, oh yeah, I know this X, Y, and Z. I'm like, damn, like you know everybody. It seems like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's good to have somebody like that, because it's like, you know, it's the same thing. If you ever need something on your side of thing, and it's like, you call us up or whatever, and you're like, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. And it's like, do you know anybody? It's like, I got you. Just wait a minute. It's nice to know people and build connections and like not burn those bridges, because you never know what you're going to need them for down the line.
You never know. That's what I always say. Like, do not burn bridges. It's one of the worst things you could do.
Sad.
And it feels good to say that people trust me too. Like they know what my goals are. Like even being able to, like Jason Banks came in here. I mean, the dude has like 8.6 million followers on TikTok. And he literally came in here, sat down with me for an hour, reviewed all of my content. Like he didn't rush me. He literally took his time with me. He asked me questions. And then later he texts me. He's like, I'm sorry if I asked too many questions. I'm like, no, I want you to ask me whatever you want, because I don't want you to think I'm a bullshitter. Yeah. So I want to tell you, I want to be able to answer whatever you want to know, because we're about to build a business relationship. So,
and that's what's crazy too, is like what we were talking about. Like when I seen Jason Banks on your upcoming issue of your magazine, which everybody, we're gonna put a link in the description.
Coming soon.
Yes,
what
October
is it?
1st.
October. That's what I thought. So like seeing him on the front page of that magazine and everything, I'm like, damn, like we literally have talked about Jason Banks a couple times on here, shown his videos and stuff, and that's a comedian that is like, it's cool because he's local. He's here in Columbus, but he still travels the world and stuff, and I'm sure he's got a busy schedule and shit like that. But it's like, it was just one of those things like, damn, man, it would be so dope to have him on. Or even like, even if you have a conversation with somebody like that, and you don't necessarily have to, like, we don't have to do a podcast with them, but just to even have a conversation with them and be cool and be like, man, I met him. I got to know that person. Like that's like a memory you get to make. That you get to, you get to keep that to yourself and share with your, your friends or your children or anything like that. And it's not always necessarily about but like you said, building a relationship or a business relationship. And it's one of those things where he, like you were explaining, he does a lot of his stuff on his own, which is like, that's crazy to think you have that type of following on TikTok and stuff like that.
And you're
manage. Still doing it on your own. Because I'm sure he's managing all of his comedy stuff on his own and stuff too, which I'm sure is hard, because he's probably booking flights, he's booking hotels and all that stuff. That takes time out your day.
Yeah. He does have a management team. I do know that. But
for the comedy side of things?
Yeah, for the comedy side of things,
But the social media and everything, he still handles all that.
Yeah.
Which is insane, because like,
awesome.
it's so hard. It's so hard to post and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Constantly and be on top of it, and like that's a lot of work to chop up stuff.
Job.
Exactly.
It really is, because I'm trying to get my numbers to where his are. It's a challenge.
And like for him, and like I said, just seeing his videos and him talking about like, the cancellations on TikTok and stuff like that, and getting videos taken down and stuff. Like he's real about that stuff, and he doesn't bullshit. You know what I mean? But he seems like a normal guy. Like it's like one of those people, you meet him, he's cool. He shoots the shit straight. He doesn't play around or anything, and he's just real about it. And that's a good person to know.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just keep it classy and good, and he's a great relationship to have. And I'm sure like you guys are going to build a great business relationship from that. Working with him and stuff is just, the more you work with him, the more you do things. We got a little insider look at some sketches and stuff coming up for the magazine and shit like that. And it's like, I know he's going to love that shit.
I can't wait.
Like just seeing it from here, I'm like, damn, like this is that's a legit process.
Yeah.
Like when we're thinking of sketching up something, I'm thinking of like, man, I'm fucking drawing stick figures and shit. Like that's what I would do if I'm sketching up something, and then I'm gonna outsource it if I can't do it myself.
Yeah.
And to be able to see like a professional sketch, like that was a sketch that you would see at like Pixar or like something like that. They sketched it up legit and had it, and it was like perfect, and like seeing the different things you guys did, with it, not having people in it, adding people, the different gestures and stuff that you guys have in your whole team that you work with, like seeing that whole dynamic, it opens your eyes to a whole new thing. It's like, damn, like there's a lot more to this than you really think about.
And I'm glad you say that, because, I want to shout out my team, because we have a team chat every other Sunday, and I always tell them, like, it's not about me. It's about you guys, because without you guys, there would not be me. Like, I'm lucky. I'm blessed to be able to say that I have my own team of animators, illustrators, graphic designers, video editors, like a team that handles some of my social media, because I do some things on my own. It's just nice to have my own team. And what else is awesome is like everybody on my team is educated. Either they have a degree or they're on their way to get one. So they're all just hard workers. So shout out to everybody on the SlapStik team, seriously.
It takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village. And like, we have our radio that we're getting ready to start in a couple of weeks. Which we already told you guys, like I'm still trying to figure out which way I really want to go with that.
That is going to be so cool. That's what I've always like. I obviously want to know more about like radio and stuff, because I'm like, do you have to pay for a radio station and all that stuff? I'm sure you probably have to do something like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's so cool to be like, I'm making a radio show, and then you can just go in your car and turn on to that station, and boom, your shit's right there.
Right there.
Like, that is so dope to have. Like, we might be driving down the road one day, and I'm like, shit, what's your radio station? I'm going to turn it up and listen in. You know what I mean? That's one of those things. I can be in the car, and I look at my daughter and be like, you know them guys? I met them. I was at that studio.
That's one of my goals. Like, I hope to have like a XM, like a SlapStik comedy channel on XM. Radio one day.
That'd be awesome.
That's one of my major goals. We're going to get there.
So awesome.
Did you have a question? Were you trying to
I'm
ask
sorry,
something?
Christian.
Well, no, going back to what you were saying about Jason Banks, like you said how when he came in the studio and talked to you and he sat down there for an hour, didn't rush you. I think that really speaks volumes about his character as a person.
Yeah, I said that. Like, he sat right here and I sat right here. We sat right next to each other. I had my computer hooked up to my monitor up there, and we literally sat and like reviewed everything. He gave me feedback. He was super honest with me. Like, we just it was just amazing, because this dude is booked up until next year, first of all.
Damn.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, is he booked up just in the comedy side of thing, but everything?
I think everything, because he's working on and that's the other cool thing is like,
you got insider
he opened up to
information.
me. Yeah, I got some insider information. He's working on some shit. And I was like, wow, like he left my meeting. It was like, hey, guess what I'm about to go do? And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, Jason. Are you serious? Like, yeah, he's
some big things coming up.
Man.
Is he working with anything special? Any like type of companies or something?
Man, you guys would be like, damn.
Working some deals.
Crazy.
That's the crazy thing. Like, I wish the best for him and shit.
Yeah.
And like, I hope
You'll get the meeting.
Maybe one day that I do eventually meet this man or like even have a conversation, because it's like one of those things. It's like, I would literally just be like, like it's crazy to think that I just seen you on TikTok. And that was like right when we started our podcast is when I discovered him. And to think like I still have videos that he's made saved on my phone.
Yeah.
Like some of the skits he done as Derek and shit like that. I have saved on my phone because the shit's so funny. You know what I mean? And like I love the one skit that he did where it's like the first date or whatever, where he's like whatever I can't remember whatever his other character is that he plays. Not Derek, but the other kid.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember his name, but when he's like, man, why did my girlfriend break up with me, Derek? And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, you've been going around telling people we slept together? And he's like, we did sleep together. And he goes, no, we slept in the same room together. Shit like that. Like, that's just funny to me. It's just dumb, funny comedy. And it's like, just like to think like, that transition from TikTok to us doing our podcast, talking about stuff like that, to then building the relationships I had, switching jobs, meeting the people I did at my new work, getting to befriend Jackson basically, and then learning about you, and then coming to the studio to meet you, and then to talk about like stuff like that. It's just insane how it kind of all worked. And it's like, and the funny thing was like, I really questioned my transition with my job. Because it's like I'm at a secure, stable job where I make decent money and I have good benefits and stuff. And it's, do I risk switching work to go do something completely new with a company? And like my old boss was the one that recruited me. She went over there from where we were working at before. And she was like, just come, you're going to love it, whatever. And I was literally like, I was supposed to have a decision in by Friday. The day I was like, they were like, here's your deadline this Friday. And I was like, man, like, I really don't know. And I asked her, I was like, is there any way like I can get a little bit more time or whatever. And she's like, no, we really need a decision like made. Like we gave you a week to think about it. And I remember messaging her and I was like, I'm going to have an answer for you on Monday. I said, I know you want an answer today. I said, I hope you understand that I really need to think about this.
Yeah.
And I got to think about like, it's not just me, it's my daughter and everything else. And I made the hard, long deliberation and there was like people that I was sad that I was going to leave behind and stuff. And I made the choice on Monday. I emailed her and I was like, I would love to join your team. And I turned in my 2-week notice the same day that Monday, typed in a letter. And to think like switching there, I would have never been here if it wasn't for that decision. And it's like my favorite movie from back in the day, The Butterfly Effect. I love that movie where a little decision can change something down the road or in the past. And it was just one of those crazy things. It's like, I made that decision and now we're going to work on connections and building business and stuff and grow like together because it's like, this is definitely a connection I wouldn't want to break. You know what I mean?
No,
like just meeting
not.
you and talking to you after some point in time. It's like, this is literally like awesome. Like this is my dream. You're fulfilling my fantasy and I'm getting to live my fantasy through you of like owning an entertainment company.
That makes me
which
so
is
happy
like crazy.
because
You know what I mean?
you never know how you touch people's lives. One of the girls that used to design my magazine, her name is Dana Lynn Harper. And I love Dana to this day. And I actually, I still keep in touch with people from the previous SlapStik team that I had back in the day. And so I hit Dana up and Dana is doing like big shit now. And so I was like, hey, Dana, I want to take you to dinner. Like we can meet next week or the week after that. Like I'm completely free the week of August 1st. So what's up? So she told me that she's actually traveling doing her artsy stuff. And she's gone and she's in Vermont until August 9th. I'm like, Dana, I'm so proud of you. So when I said that, she sends me a message back and she says, I think you don't realize how working for you changed my perspective on myself and my own dreams, etc. I saw you commit to yourself and your ideas. And I was like, damn, I can do that too. And I literally had tears in my eyes when I read that. And I was like, that's the effect I want to have on people.
That's
like,
deep.
One thing I always say, I'm like, I don't give a fuck how much money I make. I'm still going to go to thrift stores every Saturday and Sunday. Like, I always want to be cool with people. Like, I don't want to, sometimes like we talked about earlier, like people get tired of people, but I want to remain humble. I always want people to feel like they can approach me. I don't want people to ever feel like they can't approach me. And so it like thrills me to hear you say that. Like, I'm happy that we met.
I'm so glad too. And like, that was one of those things is like, I was even doubting myself. I'm like, man, damn, like I'm gonna send this email, and like not knowing you, you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those prejudged thing. Is like I've emailed so many other businesses and so many other people in the past. I just had the preconceived notion. I'm like, the way it made it like, because this was before I kind of really like seeked out and looked at all your stuff. I like all I see is like picture with Kevin Hart and this and black. I'm like, man, I was like, she's probably bigger than we expect.
She's not even
she's gonna look at her
be.
numbers and be like, damn, like I ain't working with this fool. And the fact that you emailed me back like instantly, I was like, what? And like it's just like it was insane because I was like, yes, I need to make this happen. And I literally called him and was like, guess what, motherfucker? And he's like, what? And I was like, this girl Misha. I was like, I met her through my dude. She owns slapstick comedy, entertainment shit. I was like, we're gonna get a meeting with her. I said, I'm trying to work with her now to schedule a date and time. I said, we're gonna go check out the studio and see what's up. And now we're here recording a podcast.
Yep.
And it's just crazy.
What about me? Like I got laid off, and then if I wouldn't have been laid off, I wouldn't have been able to make this.
That's what's crazy too.
Like
is
things are happening. Like I don't know.
like maybe it's happening for a reason.
The butterfly effect.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Is like you made that sacrifice to quit your job, and we've always discussed that. Is like at what point in our success do we decide we need to focus on this full time? And we may have to quit and we may have to struggle for a couple months or something to get it going. But at what point do we say, hey, let's go all in and just risk it for the biscuit? Because like you have to do that. If you're not like, there's a lot of these people that they get to a point where it becomes a full-time job and working 2 full-time jobs, you get no sleep or whatever, and then
Right.
you're burning yourself out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one's got to go at that point.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's chase your dream or it's work that job that you know you really don't want to do. Like, I
Yeah.
never thought I would be in commercial real estate, let's be honest here. Like, that's not, I've never had any interest in real estate or anything at any point in time, but this is just kind of where my life has taken me. And
Yeah.
like, back in the day, like I used to film videos and I used to like just entertain, and that's what I wanted to do. Is I
Yeah.
just wanted to entertain people. And like now this is kind of like what life is becoming and
Yeah.
like working with people. It's just kind of awesome.
Yep,
to
it's
see.
your destiny. That's the
Yeah.
way it's supposed to go.
Yeah, because like we've talked about before, is like it's not about the money, it's about the like I just want to make people smile, laugh, know
Yeah.
that you make a difference in somebody's life, and like, you know, they could be sitting there and they're having a horrible day. And they just so happen to stumble across your content or whatever, and they have a laugh, and you know, then they check you out more, and then they become a constant listener. And then you see like some of these people that are big now that reach out and they go, you know, like people will reach out to these people and be like, you know, without you, you know, I could have been, you know, suicidal or done this and that. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's those little, like, even though you don't know that person on a personal level,
Mhm.
seeing some stuff like that, like, really makes you think, like, damn, I'm touching a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
And even what we do now, like, even though our podcast isn't huge, like, how many people tune in? Like, how many of those 10,000 listeners a month or something tune in to those podcasts every single week and, you know, listen because, like, this is their escape. This is their getaway.
Yeah.
They have fun and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just, there are constant people. Like, we have constant listeners. And to think, I think, like, in total, I think, what was it, like 62 countries or something was the,
Yeah.
on the media kit, it shows that we reached and everything.
Nice.
And to think that's growing, like, constantly, like, it's a worldwide thing. It's not just in
Yeah.
the United States, like, at this point in time.
Mhm.
And it's crazy to think that, like, thinking, like, man, somebody all the way out there in India is listening to my podcast.
Yeah, and it's cool
something like
because
that.
one thing I always tell people is to put your content out. I'm like, don't really worry. I mean, I hear people say it all the time, which is motivation to me to go ahead and just not really throw my content out there, but put it out there and place it. Like we looked at the post before, and we can see how many people we're reaching, even by month, but they may not interact with your, you know, with your post the way we want them to.
Yeah.
But they see it.
they know
They
you're
know who
there.
you are. They know
Yeah.
who the fuck you are. They know what you're doing.
They do.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, like, I always encourage people, like, even if you feel like you're going to be embarrassed, like, you did it, put it out there.
Right.
And you never know what's going to happen with it. You never know who's going to see it. You never know who's going
And
to pick it up.
sometimes you got to embarrass yourself, like,
Yeah.
and just put stuff that, like, it may be, like, uncomfortable to share. But, like, there's been definitely times where, like, you know, I was a component of, like, my mom won't ever listen to the podcast, right? And then she listened to an episode. And then I get feedback from her, and, like, at that time it was a negative feedback. And there was a little bit of an argument and stuff. But I was like, you have to, because we were talking about, like, my situation growing up and stuff. And it was like, you got to understand, I didn't release that to, like, dog on you or anything like that. It was nothing negative towards you. It was to connect better with the people and understand my life story and, like, understand the things we've gone through, because that
Yeah.
makes us who we are. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Christian's the same way. Christian had a rough childhood growing up and with some of the stuff he did with his parents and stuff. And then the same thing. It's like, that makes you who you are.
Yeah.
And that also drives me to do this stuff, because it's like, I don't want to go back to them days where I was coming home and, like, damn, the electric's off, damn, the heat's off, you know, shit
Yeah.
like that. Damn, we're losing the house, you know, and we got to move and all that shit, and it's getting repossessed by the bank. Like, coming home to a fucking sheriff's at your door, you know,
Yeah.
shit like that. Like, that shit's not fun.
Right.
So it's like, I never want that for my daughter. So it's like, it's not only do I want it for myself, but I just want it, you know, to be stable, but also give back to those people that need help.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, if I did become successful and I needed that money and stuff, that's the first thing I want to do. Is I want to, you know, we talked about, like, if we become successful and we have money, I would love to be able to buy property, like, in my old town and stuff, and use
Yeah.
it as, like, a place where people can go that need help, live there rent free. I'll take care of all the bills.
Nice.
And, you know, it's paid off or whatever. You live there until you get back up on your feet.
Yeah.
You don't.
They're
owe me
not
a
leaving
dime.
if it's free.
Yeah,
Hell no.
well, that's what I'm saying.
Squatters' rights,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
To a certain point, like, obviously there's people that might abuse it, but, like, it's one of those things. It's like, it's just helping people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, like, the right thing to do. And like where you were, I'm sure you probably didn't think that you would meet all these different comedians and build the brand you have so far.
Never. I never imagined, actually. Like, it's crazy because I'm like, I got these motherfuckers' numbers in my phone. So
That's crazy.
It's like I can call these people up, and the amazing part is, you're like, man, they're gonna forget about me, or do I really have to remind them who I am? And so like I said, when Mike Blackson comes, like, he gave me tickets to like the Wild 'N Out show, Nick Cannon's show.
Awesome.
Like, I've got to go to everything. And every time the comedians come, like, and my friends are always impressed. Like, we're sitting at fucking front row at Kevin Hart's show. I'm like, I know. Can you, like, I'm still shocked about it. So yeah, I want to remain humble throughout the whole thing. Like, and it makes me proud when people are like, Misha, one thing I love about you is you're still the same. Like, you haven't changed. And I'm like, I don't plan to. Like, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. I always tell people, like, I am no better than you. Matter of fact, I ain't shit. If you want me to be honest with you, that's what I always
say that.
Yeah.
But like, it's crazy to think about. Like, you literally started this in your garage and stuff, and now you've moved into a studio. And it's like crazy to think it's like you went from, in a place rent free, just doing your thing, doing what you love. Mm-hmm. And then now you're making enough income to support having a whole staff of people, which is freaking insane.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even imagine, like, we've talked about it now. We're like, damn, bro, we're going to eventually have to hire a person here, a person there. And it's like, no, we come in here and it's like, you got like, what, 10 people, 8 people, somewhere around there?
I have like 30 writers altogether.
30. Jeez, 30. It's more than I was thinking.
Oh, damn.
And then I have like the rest of my creative team. It's pretty small. Like, I have like 4 graphic designers, and I have 2 animators, and like a one person handles my social media. And then if she needs help, there is someone else that can help her. So, we got like a little bit of backup and whatnot. But yeah, we definitely make it happen. Like I said, I'm so proud of my team.
I know. And that's crazy to think that you built a team that big.
Yeah.
Off of like, thinking of starting in the dining room. I mean, our first ever podcast that we recorded was literally in this man's parents' basements.
Yep.
And it's like, now we removed to like, we bounce back and forth between each of our places like that we stay. So, we do a podcast there, we do a podcast here. And then now we're like working towards semi permanent, because it's still one of those things. It's like we kind of trade off our travel to do the podcast. But like being able to have a place to call a studio as in that spare bedroom. Yeah. Like, I was moving out of the place I was at, and I was kind of freaking out for a minute because it's so hard to find a place to live. And it was one of those miracle things. Shout out to the old lady across the street that took 6 shots of Crown from me.
Bitch.
But she goes, hey, my landlord, because he owned the house right across from me. She goes, hey, he's got a place coming available. It's not even on the market or anything yet. It's right down here. And it was cheaper than the place I was living at.
Oh, wow.
3 bedrooms, bigger space. Full basement, everything. It's not I was in a duplex before. Okay. It's not a duplex. It's a solo standing house now. Nice. And to think that I was able to get that and everything, and I didn't think I was going to make it work. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, man, he ain't going to take me, shit like that. It was just one of those weird things. And like, it all kind of worked out. And now we're sitting here discussing like, damn, what are we going to do with the studio? How do we want to make it look? And we're talking about even like we want to do different things, kind of like here, we want to build an entertainment company, branch out. So we're talking about like building false walls and different sets and stuff so we could do like, different podcasts with different themes and things like that. To think like it's all kind of working out and then come in here. And it's like, this is our first time like being in a professional studio. Yeah. You can call it, because I would consider this a professional studio.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just crazy to think about. It's like we went from a basement and now we're recording a podcast here in a professional studio with somebody that just has every connection in the world when it comes to comedians. And it's like, it's still insane to me to think like that we have this relationship, and there's so much more to go, because it's one of those things like we've talked about. It's like, you would love to work with us. We would love to work with you on things and just build together, because it's like we can provide stuff for each other just down the line, and to think like, I can't wait to even come back and meet some of your people on your team and stuff like that, and just see like how the shows develop, and being able to see like the behind the scenes of the magazines and stuff.
Yeah.
And to think like, damn, like when that comes out, I can be like, I seen that shit before it was even ready.
Seen that shit, that whole process.
For real.
Well, let's talk about you said how you just got in contact with TikTok Mama.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love her. She was actually one of the first people I followed on TikTok because she's hilarious. Like, I just love her whole style. I love everything about her. And like I told you guys, like, I'm tripping that TikTok is like a business. Like, when I looked up contact information when I looked up contact information for TikTok Mama, she has like a whole manager, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. I thought it was just individuals that make videos.
Chilling at the crib, making videos.
Once you hit that about 1 million followers, them fucking businesses come calling. You need somebody to manage you like now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then you got to pay those people. That's the crazy thing.
That's
to think
the crazy
about, like,
thing.
you can literally go to bed one night and have, let's say a couple thousand followers, a video blows up. You wake up the next day, you got a couple 100,000, a couple million. You're going throughout your day and your shit's building up. Now you're like freaking out. You got brands reaching out to you and shit. You're probably like, that's a lot to deal with. And I feel like a lot of people, especially younger people, like kids and stuff that get TikTok famous, I feel like they have to get, like, that's a way to get burned out. And that's the thing people don't really talk about, like children celebrities and stuff. Look how many of those people got burned out because they got so rich and famous so quick.
And
they didn't know how to deal with it.
And they didn't know how to deal with it. They end up on crack. Mostly those Disney kids.
If you was a Disney kid back in the day, we're sorry for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for Hannah Montana and all them shows.
Orlando Brown.
Home Alone kid.
Macaulay Culkin.
Thank you for your entertainment, but damn, we're sorry what happened to you.
Man, it is sad. It's really sad. But that's one thing I always think about, because like, even like I told you guys, I don't have investors. But when I do read emails from investors, they're always like, we're going to work side by side. And I'm just like, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
I'm controlling my own shit.
I just want you to fucking give me the money.
Yeah.
And then I'll report back to you like once a month.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what I'm doing with it, but that's it.
That's it.
And you know what? It may be one of those things where we might just work out a connection. We never say never, It's one of those weird things, but we kind of discussed it. It's like, we got some people and may have to have some tough conversations. I'll be a little bit nervous going into work, but you know what? It's just it's a start.
You gotta gamble.
And what's the worst that can happen?
They say no. That's what my dad always said. Never be afraid to ask. The worst they can do or say is no. That's it.
Ask that girl for her number. Ask that job for your promotion. Apply to NASA. What are they gonna do? They gonna tell you no, you're not an astronaut?
Yeah.
Oh well, shit.
Ask for that raise.
What happens?
Ask.
What happens? There's that 1 in a million chance that NASA goes, fuck it, let's just put a random person on the moon.
Yeah.
You imagine that shit? You apply to NASA, they're like, yeah, you can be an astronaut. That shit would be crazy as fuck.
As fuck.
Maybe they'll let that C-average student into Harvard. Who knows?
Might as well try. I mean, that's all you can do. That's the funny thing about it.
Yep.
Now, like, let's transition, like, some questions and stuff that we kind of do. And, like, we take it kind of funny and shit. But this is, like, one question that I feel like is a great way to get to know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked it the other day, like, we kind of discussed it. But let's say you had 5 minutes to live, basically. Okay. Who is the one person you would want to sit down with and spend that last little bit of time left?
It would be someone like Oprah.
Oprah?
I would love to talk to her.
That's kind of great. That's not a bad choice. I mean, I get it. But like,
I mean, just think about, like, she literally built her media up. She just, I don't know, she fascinates me to this day, even though she doesn't have her shows anymore. Like, she's amazing to me.
Right. Is there any, like, let's say Oprah, obviously one of them. Is there like a list of people that you would love to work with now, even on the comedy side of things? Like, who is let's say your 3 big fish that you want to get up on to your side of things and work with your magazine and have them on show?
So if it was comedians that are bigger, it would definitely be like Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah,
I love
That'd be
him.
awesome. Dude, he is so fun. And like
He's funny.
It's so hard for him to make it. He has let's say he has mediocre movies, but it's never like a fully bad movie. Like it's still funny enough to where you're like, damn, it was funny to watch that.
And I'd probably watch it again. Like I love Adam Sandler.
What was that movie he did? The You're Not My Boy or whatever, the one where he sleeps with his teacher. I love that scene. I was just thinking about it today because we were talking about Parks and Rec, the strip club scene in Parks and Rec where Ron goes to the breakfast buffet at the strip club and he's like, "Hello, ladies," and he walks over to the breakfast buffet, and it reminded me of the scene in that movie where the big black girl is like up on the stripper pole and she's hanging up upside down and she's got a plate of breakfast and she's eating it while talking to Adam Sandler. That shit cracked me the fuck up. I love that movie.
I love him. Yeah, it would definitely be Adam Sandler. Let me think. I would love to talk to Ricky Gervais is on my list. Like he's always been on my list. And one more. See, after this, I'm gonna be like, damn, I meant to say. It would have to be. I think I would pick like. I have somebody at the tip of my tongue, but I want to make sure that I'm like wise.
I mean, that's the thing. It's so hard to pick just 3. You know what I mean? There's could be like, you could have some honorable mentions if that's what you want to spit out. If you want to spit out a third and then be like, oh, and this and that.
Yeah, like it would.
It's so hard to pick just 3.
Yeah, I would pick like Tyler Perry because he has built such an amazing. Like his studio is phenomenal, and I want to get to the point to where people are contacting me to do verses in my studio. You know, like that would be so just awesome. So it would definitely be those 3, Adam Sandler, Ricky Gervais, definitely Oprah, definitely Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
And definitely those 4 for sure.
I got a quick question for you.
Okay.
This is kind of off the topic, but I ask people this all the time. If you could go back and talk to that young woman working for the school newspaper, and you could tell her what you got going on now, what do you think that girl would have said? Would you be in shock? You know what I mean? Could she see this happening?
I think so, because it's always like I've always wanted to be involved in media. I don't think, actually, when I wrote for the newspaper, I don't think I envisioned myself like having my own studio. I never even like, at that time, I definitely wasn't thinking about it because my goal was to be a news anchor, you know? So I thought I was going to always be working in someone else's studio. So to be like, look, I got my own shit. Like that it does still surprise me, especially when people come in here and they're like, damn, Misha, this is like nice and you're fully equipped. And like, I have a best friend. His name is Steve Blackman. Steve actually owns a gym. And Steve, I love you to death. But Steve is one of the most outspoken, I don't want to call him critical, but he like definitely speaks his mind. So when he came in here maybe a month ago and visited me, and he looked around and he was like, damn, Mish. He was like, I'm proud of you. Like, you got your shit together. He's like, look at all this goddamn equipment. Like, you know, and it takes people to remind me, like, you worked your ass off. And I'm like, damn, I did. I really did. Like, like I told you guys, like, I'm literally in here all day working because people don't understand what I'm trying to do. And, you know, I got a fucking magazine that I'm about to put out. So you guys see my email. Like, I got a ton of emails.
That's what I said. I remember you pulled that shit up. I was like, damn. I was like,
yeah. And
I'm surprised you got my email.
Man, the crazy part is, see, like, I have a ton of emails that I still have to go through. And like, one thing I do is I watch YouTube videos. And so like right now I feel bad. Like, damn, I got all these emails I have to reply to. But I watched a video where a lady said, you know what, sometimes I get so many emails. She's like, now I don't even let it bother me anymore. She's like, sometimes I don't respond to people for a month. She's like, because I just got shit to do. And that's just the way it is. But I try to get back to people within like 72 hours. Like, I don't want to just keep it sitting there or piling up. But people just don't understand. Like, my plate is definitely full, but I'm still going to respond. Like I said, I want people to reply to me. Like, I sent a email to TikTok Mama's people, and they got back to me within 72 hours. And even when that email came through, I'm like, what the fuck? Oh my God. Like, I was like completely shocked.
You're starstruck about that stuff. And it's like, we're becoming starstruck. Like, even like when it came to you, I was like, damn, bro, like, we're really going to go on there. Like, it was just crazy to think. So it's like, it's crazy to think like us being excited to come here and how excited you are to work with her. It's like, it never ends. There's always somebody above you that you're dying to meet or you're dying to see and stuff like that. And it's crazy to think it's like, that's your dream too, is like working with these people. And it's like us, it's like, oh damn, we're like, we get to work with you and like do this podcast and stuff. And that's just insane. But it's cool to see that. Like, you still have a passion, and I'm sure that drives you even more. Yeah. It's because you're like, yes, I get to meet this person. I get to hang out with them. And to see the list of your questions and to see what you were writing down and what you want to ask and stuff, that's awesome to see, because a lot of people, you know, like, they just be like, oh, well, I'll just figure it out when I go, you know? Yeah. And like, you're planning this out. So it's like, it's legit and it's straight up and it's like real. It's not like some fake hillbilly giant garage like thing. Like, even when you were in the garage, you were still doing it real. Oh, yeah. But you know, a lot of these people, they'll hit you up and then it's just like you think it's more than what it is, and then it turns out not to be. And you're like, that was a little weird. yeah. But like, here's like legit. Like, it's legit. You got processes, you got people and stuff, and it's cool to see. And like, we've already talked about it 1,000 times, but I can't wait to see what still comes out of it. Yeah. And what's made and stuff like that.
And I can't wait to show you.
I know that's the cool thing. It's just be like, I get to see it now in development. It's like, I get to see it when it's finished. I get to see what happens after. Like, I'm sure you're going to fill us in and stuff like that. And it's just so funny to like think about that and stuff like that.
You do make us want to work harder though.
Oh, yeah. Like, seeing that is like, for sure. This is the same thing. It's like, damn, bro, like if we really just grind it out, we could, you know, have a setup like this one day and shit like that.
Yeah, you will. Cause I still, I mean, like I said, I always tell people, if I can make it happen, you definitely can. And, you know, for the most part, you got to ignore negativity. Like, even last night, my freaking son texted me and told me how shitty my numbers are. And I'm just like, what?
Damn, you hater. Get off my shit.
Yeah. I'm like, what about your numbers? Like, you've been on YouTube. Like, I feel like I'm talking to like some guy I don't even know.
Okay,
like,
TikTok boy.
Yeah, like, bye.
Or Twitch. He's on Twitch, isn't he?
Yeah, he's on Twitch and YouTube, and he's a gamer.
Create a fake profile. You go up on his Twitch next time he's streaming, you start hating on the little comments.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I told him, like, your numbers are worse than mine, dude, I try to go to his YouTube page to see how many he has, and he already blocked or deleted me or whatever it is. I don't know. But I couldn't find his shit, so bye.
He goes, damn, you hate on me, Mom, blocked.
Yep, I'm sure he blocked me. So yeah, like, you got to ignore everybody.
You do. So that's a good thing we talked about. Like, so with you building up and growing and stuff, have you, like, we've kind of talked about this because being younger and stuff like that, us being both like, I mean, I'm 25, you're 26 still. And like, being at our age, it's like, we have a lot of friends that like fake support us.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, it's one of those things, it's like, they say like, oh yeah, we listen, but we know they don't. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, we would love to be on, we'd love to do this and stuff. And they want nothing to do with you. And then it's like that moment, that success or like something starts coming.
Oh yeah, I got
all these people
got
like
messages today.
Even when we were posting, like, because we posted about the Good Pod thing, you know, being like number 36 on their top 100 and stuff like that, and then about, you know, getting ready for the meeting and stuff coming here. And it's like, people just flood and they're like, oh, like now they want to be a part of your life and stuff like that. Have you dealt with that with people that you're friends with and like, you know, people that you like really were close with, or like even thought you were close with somebody, but they're really just along for the ride and they don't want to be a part of it when you have nothing, basically. Yeah.
I recently made a post because I made a great connection. Like, and that's what again, never always put your content out because you never know who's going to see it. I recently got a message when we were promoting the promo cover of the magazine with Jason, and a guy sent me a message and he was like, hey, I see that you have a magazine. I see that you do this. Like, he checked out my content and he's like, I really want to meet you. Like, I want to work with you. And I'm like, all right, let's schedule a Zoom chat. We scheduled a Zoom chat. He's a comedian, and he is a graphic designer for Ebony Magazine.
Oh shit.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, so I get to actually meet him next month, and he opens for a national comedian. So I'm trying not to give his name away because, you know, but I get to meet them next month. So I'm like really excited about it.
Is it a comedian we would know? That's a great question.
Probably, yeah. I could tell you guys after we are
yeah,
not recording.
definitely.
So.
It's like one of those things. It's like you don't want to spoil it. But
Yeah,
like, that's the thing. Cool. Like even when we went to like Bert's show and stuff, to see the smaller comics that he works with and things like I think it was like Dave Williams and stuff like that, and there's a couple other people, and to see like Taylor Tomlinson.
Yeah,
and
we actually
Shane
talked about her recently.
Yeah, which is crazy. I love her.
I love her
so
too.
cool.
She's hilarious.
And like Shane Gillis and David Tell and Big J Okerson, and like to see all these names in comedy that like are big people, and to just like be able to see a show live. Because it was one of those things, like, I've always been trying to go see Bert, but it was, like, almost impossible. Something always came up, like, my daughter, I had her, or I needed to go. Like, the last time he was in Columbus, I sacrificed going to a show to take her to COSI, because she really wanted to go, and I spent 6 hours at COSI instead of going to Bert, and then it kind of all worked out. I literally called Christian, like, the Wednesday before the show was on Saturday. I said, dude, will you go with me if I buy these tickets? I've been wanting to go, and I just said, fuck it. I spent the $400 it was on tickets, and we drove down to Dayton that day and went to see him, and it was awesome. And we never regret it. It's like one of those things, you got to treat yourself every now and then. Yeah. And it's like, it's awesome to be able to do that. And then, like you said, work with the people that you're getting the chance to work with, and also blocking out all the people that, just they're not there to actually support you.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And that's what I think we kind of find hard. It's like there's connections we've had and friends that we had that we grew up for a long time that you would think would support you and, everything. And it's like, damn, like if this thing really pops off to the point, it's like we're going to have to cut these people to a certain point or put them at a certain length, because it's like all they want to be is a part in the fun. And they don't want to be there during the grind and the hard times, and they don't want to listen. Like, I have one friend, I have like two friends that truly, from where I come from up towards Tiffin, that truly still listen to the podcast like every week. And it's like every time I ask somebody else about it, and they're like, oh, I haven't listened to an episode in a while.
See?
And it's like, well, you aren't really supporting it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But these people, they will message me every week like, damn, dude, that shit was funny, blah, blah, blah. Like, and sometimes they even give us feedback like, hey, I noticed this during the episode or whatever. This was a little odd, or this kind of sounded off, or there was an error here and there. And I'm like, thanks for that. Like, you're literally analyzing it and you're giving me feedback. Yep. Instead of just like listening and being like, oh yeah, it was great.
I'm glad that you recognize like who's down for you and who's not. Like it's so important to notice that up front. And like yesterday I cut somebody off. I'm like, hey, we just can't ride this roller coaster together. And they went bazookas, and I'm like, see,
really? They like flip, like, and that's the thing too.
Flip.
Is when you tell somebody like no, they get mad, and it's like, listen, if you wanted to be a part of it, why weren't you like involved why weren't you trying to help out? Mm-hmm. Like, we've had a couple of people that like we reached out to try to work with, that we had friends that were talented, and was like, we would love to work with you, we would love to do this, like, if you could just do this with us, like, we ain't got no money to pay you, but if you do it for free, you can be along the success. Like, we would love to hire you when we make it.
When we make it.
And it's like those people, like, oh yeah, I'm down, and then they just go.
They never
but then they hit you back, and they're like, oh, I'm still around.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on.
I recently made a post, and I said, new challenge. I had the stars by it. New challenge. I said, let's practice saying congratulations instead of when someone tells you they have good news. People are always like, hook me up. You got to hook me up. Why? You don't do anything for my company. Yeah. I did everything I had to do to get to this spot right here. And it's just a jump, but I'm supposed to hook you up. I can't stand those types of people.
Hell no.
And that's the thing too, is like, people don't know how to just say they're proud of you and leave it at that.
Thank you.
A lot of times, that was one of my biggest complaints, is like, I know a lot of people that they'll be like, oh, like, I'm happy for you, but X, Y, and Z. And it's like, just tell me you're proud of me. Don't tell me, I could have done this better. I could have done that. Like, that's going to come. That's part of learning. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But don't find a thing to hate. Just say, congratulations, and I'm going to appreciate that. And it's almost negative when you say like, oh, I'm proud of you, but you could have done X, Y, and Z better. That's not a compliment. That's kind of like, okay, like, thanks. It's kind of like a backhanded thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I'm happy for you, but this sucks, or your show is really not that funny, or whatever. It's like, come the fuck on.
Or it's oh, that's cool. Let me come through.
Oh yeah.
Like what?
Like,
no.
You just want to come through when I'm doing the good shit, but you don't want to help me with anything. You don't even want to put a fucking a sign on the wall for me, but you want to go to the shows. You want me to make sure I give you tickets. And,
you don't even want to share our posts online.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too, is like that's free. You don't even want to subscribe to the YouTube. That's free. You don't have to watch the shit. Just subscribe. Follow the social media. What's wrong with that? It's simple, easy. I could tell you, out of the thousands of friends that we have on our social medias, I bet you out of that, we probably have a good solid 20, 30 each that actually follow our shit. Mm-hmm. Like maybe not even 20, 30.
I think I've got a couple, but I think I've got like one friend that watches every episode. He's my homie Aaron, my best friend that I grew up with in South Carolina, my A1 day one. He watches it every fucking week. Comments on the TikToks, comments on the tweets, you name it, he's there commenting on the shit. So I know he's somebody that I would like to take with us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People like that actually support what you're doing.
And people don't even realize, like, even that like or the comment, that helps that with the algorithm.
Yeah.
Like, we need that. And I always make sure I reply when people comment. I always make sure I reply to them.
I can't even lie, man. I probably have like 4 different Gmails because it was one of those things. It's like, that's a way to help. It's like, yeah, I got 4 different Gmails, and yeah, I might have 20 likes, and 4 of those are my own accounts. Mm-hmm. But shit, like I'm trying to boost the algorithm.
Yeah.
And if you aren't willing to help me as a friend, then I'm gonna find a way to do it myself.
Yep.
I don't want to pay for the bots like we talked about. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to pay $700 for 10,000 followers or something like that's not us. I want to do it the hard way.
The hard way.
I want to grind for it, and I want to earn every single real person on that page. Mm-hmm. I don't need no fake shit or anything like that. We're gonna grind it out, whether it takes a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10, 15, 20, eventually it will come.
Yeah,
and
for
that's
sure.
The same thing like you know, maybe there's I would hope there isn't a break, but just like you had to take where there was a break and now you have to start your stuff back up again. And it's like you're still following that passion and that dream.
Yeah.
And you never let it go out.
Yeah. Because I've always felt like I had something. And then like even getting the compliments from major comedians. Like I remember when Don DC Curry was like, man, I'm proud of you. He was like, I want you to realize you really have a great product. He's like, your mind is really working for you. And you got to work this out. He was like, it's all going to come together. It's all going to come tenfold. And I'm like, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
That's always, and that's awesome to get a compliment from somebody that like that.
That's already made it. Yeah. So,
and it's like they see the potential in you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure, obviously it's not one of those things you've probably done, but I'm sure if you reached out to these people and you're good enough friends with you, they would find a way to help you.
Oh yeah,
in the long run, and like you already do that, like with connections and stuff. And that's one of our things. Is like I don't want a handout from somebody, but I would love to work with people and be able to build a connection with them and their connections to let us work our own thing and like be able to build. Because it was the same thing you talked about, like with your people that have left your company and gone on and done their own things. It's like that's what we would love to do as an entertainment company too, is like I want to build a brand and I want to venture out and then take the people that we build up and don't force them to stay with you. If they want to go do their own thing, let them do it and be proud of it. And you know what? When they find success, who's the first person they're going to think of when they want to have somebody on?
It's so
it's
true.
You.
Because one of the guys, like I read Dana's message, one of the guys that used to design my magazine, his name is DeLong Chang. He actually does photography for Harper's Bazaar now, which is like a huge magazine.
Yeah.
The other guy that used to do my video editing, he is making movies now. He was living here in Columbus, Ohio, and he's like in a whole nother state making movies. And all of them came back and was like, if you did not give me that experience, I would have never got there.
Yeah.
If you didn't let me show my work, I would have never been able to be as successful as I am now. So I love helping people. And I tell my team to this day, like, if you ever need a reference, I don't care if it's 15 years down the line from now, like, reach out to me. As long as you did not cross that bridge with me, reach out to me because I'm always going to be here to help
and
you.
Can't, and like that's the thing, like we talked about, it's like don't burn that because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like who doesn't say 15 years down the line, it's like they're trying to do something and they're trying to work with a comedian and they're like, yo, Misha, do you got that hookup with Dave Chappelle? Like we're just trying to, like, do you have a contact I can reach out to his team or something? And then you'd be like, yeah, I got you. Versus somebody that, burned that bridge. If they come down the line, they're like, hey, I know I haven't talked to you in a while, but blah, blah, blah. You're probably going to just ignore that.
Yeah,
message.
I definitely do. It happens all
Wrong
the time.
number. Got a new number.
Yeah, like I had one comedian hit me up recently and he's all like, I feel like I've done more than all of the other comedians. And I'm like, see, I will never work with you again. How could you say that? Because you don't even know what the other comedians have helped me with or what they've done for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who the fuck do you think you are? Like, I don't like comments like that. That's shady to me.
Yeah, because you can't, like, you guys are on the same level. You didn't do anything special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, just comments like that. It's super weird because even if you did do more than the other comedians, like I still helped you connect with other people.
Yeah.
So you should be thankful. Like, I don't know. I just don't like when people leave bad taste in my mouth. That just drives me crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And we are back from our little quick commercial break there,
back.
going over some stuff, more behind the scenes shit. One thing, like I said, my big question I wanted to ask you was, now that you've kind of developed and you're still growing and stuff like that, what is one piece of advice or some advice that you would love to share with our listeners and stuff that may be interested in pursuing a similar career or taking that next step and going for it and stuff, like you said, like, because you are one of those great people, like after hearing all the stories and stuff of the people you worked with before, what is one piece of advice or something you would love to tell our fans and hopefully soon to be your fans too, once they listen to this stuff, and some advice you'd give them that you would just love to share to help them take the next step and further their lives?
Well, Tyler, thank you. I mean, Big Crisp, thank you for calling me.
It's all good. You can call me either way,
Thank you for calling me a great person. I really appreciate that. But as I already said, don't refrain from putting out your content. Like, if you create it and it's meant to go on social media and that's what you plan to do with it, put that shit out there. Don't be afraid, because you never know. Don't worry about if you get a like or not. Don't worry about if you get 1,000 likes or not. Don't worry about if you get 1 like or not. Put that shit out there. That is like my biggest, like, I just want people to understand that, because.
And do it for you, basically, is what you're saying.
Do it, because you don't know who's watching. Like, I get more emails and inboxes and text messages and just messages, period, from people saying, hey, I like what you're doing. But I would rather it be a like or a follow.
Yeah.
But
or a retweet.
Yeah, some shit like that. But sometimes I just don't get that. But I respect it, because people see what you're doing, and that's what matters. Like, put your shit out there.
I like your shit, but I don't want anybody to know that I like your shit.
Yeah,
shit, we talked about that before. It's like riding a moped, man. A moped may be fun, but shit, you don't want to see your friends on one.
Man, it's crazy too.
That's facts, though.
Yeah,
that's true. Now, like, so coming from that point, is there I hate to discourage people and stuff like that too, but is there ever a point where you think some people should just stop with creating content? Because we're kind of getting more into like people that we are friends with and stuff. He knows where I'm going with this. But we have this good friend of ours that he just believes that he's going to have a rap career, and we support him fully. Keep doing your thing and stuff. And he does do good at some point, but we feel like at this point it's a detriment to him because of how much hate he gets and stuff, and how much drama it's causing in his life.
Ooh.
And things, and it's starting to affect him negatively. And we feel bad, but it's we don't want to tell him to stop. Because we want to be those supportive people, but it's maybe you should lay off.
He's got haters online making videos about where he lives and
ordering pizzas to his house and stuff. But he kind of brings it on himself, because he literally will message these people, and these are middle schoolers, and he's grown. He's 24, arguing with kids, and we're like, buddy, you just gotta quit. You gotta just let it go. And that's one of the things is dealing with haters. What is the best thing to deal with haters? Is just not do it.
Yeah, just don't do it. And what makes them literally ordering pizza to his house?
So he's the type of so he has some form of disability. We don't know what to the extent, because it's never been 100% clarified. But he definitely there's a couple screws loose, couple French fries short of a Happy Meal, you know, that kind of deal. And like we've known him since high school, and we're friends with him, and he comes on the podcast with us every now and then. And stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like then we get the hate. Like I get messages from the people that he argues
Like,
with.
why the fuck?
And it's like,
yeah,
and it's like it's annoying, but it's like he's still our friend.
Yeah.
And we still like support him and love him and shit. But like it's just one of those things. It's like at what point do you either A, cut that person out, or B, like how do you deal with that on your perspective? What would you do in that situation?
Yeah, if I'm getting negative comments on my platform about someone, they're not right. Like something's wrong with them, you know? Like I would. That's when I would definitely stop. Like, oh no, I can't have that. So it's that person. But really, they order pizza to his house? Like,
yes,
it's
bad. Like we literally had him on the podcast one night, and literally he's like mad. Like we're about to start, and he's pissed off, and we're like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Some motherfucker just ordered 12 pizzas to my house," and I was like, "Damn, bro." And his parents were there, and they like obviously they're like, "We didn't order anything," and it's like not only these kids costing company's money by making pizzas, but they're torturing this poor man. Like,
okay, is this audience that's doing that to him?
Yes, because he posts a lot of it. He's trying to be a rapper, and he posts a lot of that online. But then he also posts videos. Like somebody will comment and be like, "You're trash." Right, and then he will argue with them in the comments instead of just letting
that's
it go.
unprofessional.
And he'll make videos. Hey, fuck you, Black Daddy 66. You go fuck.
Yeah, he wouldn't be on none of my shit.
That's what I'm saying. So like, we're, like with us trying to build a platform and stuff, like we've had these conversations several times. It's like, man, did we just like stop hanging out with him and stop inviting him stuff?
Yeah,
like we love him to death, but it's like, I don't think we can have our business associated with that.
It sounds
anymore.
like that's the way to go. Like I would definitely.
I'm glad we're getting advice on this.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the things is like I know he he doesn't really listen to the episodes that he's not in.
Okay.
So I know he's not going to listen to this. But like it's just we need to make a decision because it's one of those things where like everybody just knows who we're talking about without saying his name.
So everybody's laughing.
That's the funny thing. Like they're probably like dying. They're like, oh, we know exactly who they're talking about. But it's like we're not gonna say it.
Yeah, we're not gonna say it.
But like we've had plenty of people question us. They're like, "Why the fuck did you put him on your podcast?"
Yeah,
it's like, man, sometimes you just gotta fill some spots, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Is he entertaining at all?
Sometimes, but sometimes, you know, we just like we've had some. So here's a funny. If you go back, listen a couple episodes ago, we had a guest on that I met through him. They were first cousins that were dating.
Hold up.
First Cousin Lovin'.
First Cousin Lovin' is the episode name, and they're first cousins that were dating. And he was chained up in his. And
this is him.
No. This is his friends that he hangs out with. That he took me to meet one night.
And his friends are first cousins, like their mom, dad, or brother, sister, or what the fuck. And then they're really dating. Like this is serious.
Yes. Yeah. And he was locked up in his girlfriend's. Well, the cousins. He was locked up in her parents' basement for 5 years, chained up to the walls and shit.
That's what he said.
Dude, he has PTSD and everything from it. It was hilarious talking to him when we had him on the podcast. Like these are the type of characters.
Send this to me, please.
I will. I'll send you the link to the video because it's like we are literally laughing our asses off. Like we are dying. And like apparently he has schizophrenia.
I would too.
Yeah.
What the
right?
fuck?
That's what I'm saying. But like, it's
Dude's
just
a mess.
insane. Like it was just crazy to think about, and like the whole situation. And I'm just looking at Christian, and we're both like, we're looking at each other, and we're like, man, like this is crazy. We're dealing with this, but like we need to get away from this shit. Like, sure, we're trying to be professional. You know, we want to be like on this level. We don't want to be on that. You know, we just took a stroll through the trailer park type level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was like, so before you came up with SlapStik comedy, that's a funny thing. Is like, were you flirting with any other names before?
Yeah, like I wanted SlapStik. I wanted my brand to be affiliated with a comedy name. And so, but people were coming up like, I literally took a survey and I'm like, what should I call it? They're like Zill. It was like names like that. Like
that's weird.
Weird shit. And I was like, I'm going to end up changing it. So one day this was like AOL days.
AOL chat room
Yeah,
days.
AOL chat room days. I
times.
literally typed in like comedy. I think I went to like a dictionary and I went to the synonyms and SlapStik came up and I was like, there it is. And I was like, I'm just going to take out the C and I'm going to just have it STIK and make it my own. And
Yeah, and I'm
that's
sure
how
a
it-
lot of people make that mistake. They'll hear slapstick and then they type it slapstick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like a bunch of comedy videos pop up. They're like, this isn't anything.
Yeah,
like, that. And
like
it's
one
no,
time
you gotta
somebody hit
type
me
it
up
right.
like, Misha, you're selling Asian women. Like, no, the fuck I'm not.
That's
Jeez.
awesome. Selling Asian women.
Yeah,
shit.
some bullshit. I'm like, I would never.
So like we flirted with the idea, like so the original name, what we were before we settled on No AC OnlyFans as like a pun on words, which we've had questionable decisions. I've at least questioned it. I'm like, damn, bro, was that the best choice in name? Like, but it was funny, you know. It was just kind of like a catch. We were gonna go with what, shooting the shit in the trailer park or whatever was the
tripping in the trailer park.
Trip. Well, that would have been better, honestly.
Yeah.
Trip. I thought we was shooting in the shit in the trailer park, and I'm like, that's just long name.
The long name.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? I want to keep it kind of short, but then no AC OnlyFans is any shorter. But tripping in the trailer park, I mean, it's just like shit like that. Then I'm thinking like, damn, I don't want to be associated with the trailer park.
Yeah. Good
But that would be a
choice.
cool set because you could have done like a double wide as a set or something like that.
Yeah.
Made it look like a little trailer park or something. So it's just one of those things. It's like, it's crazy what you think. And like, I'm sure businesses evolve. Like, you've never changed your name, right? You've just stuck with SlapStik.
Yep.
But like, that's one of the things we talked about is like, if we owned an entertainment company, I would love to like, No AC OnlyFans is a part of it. I do not want that to be the main name of the company, basically.
Yeah. I see.
Like, we flirted with the idea, like, what can we name it? You know, a good shell company name. And then this is just like, you know, No AC OnlyFans, a production of, you know, blah, blah, blah entertainment or something like that.
So one thing I did do was I completely legalized my production company, Misha Media, but SlapStik is like my DBA.
Mm-hmm.
So
See, because like that's what I was thinking. I think honestly, when I created the business ID and everything, which was insane to think about when we were doing a lot of this stuff, I didn't know we needed a business ID and all that stuff and register with the government. Like, we kept it under the No AC OnlyFans name, but I'm sure we can like change that in the future. I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll work around it. But it's just one of those things. A lot of people don't realize, like, until we started this, how much actually goes into like creating a podcast and stuff. Is like, people think like, oh, I just record it and upload it, and it's like, nah,
no.
it's not how it is.
no.
Somebody certain, I forgot to tell you this, Christian, which you'll get a comedic stance out of this, and I would love your feedback on the title, because it, in my opinion, the name of the podcast is very bad. But my crazy ex-neighbor has decided to go buy a microphone and a new laptop, and he wants to start his own podcast.
Oh fuck.
And he knows, he's like, this dude's
Okay, that's what I
fucking
say. So you must know.
nuts. I guess I'll bleep out his name. Screw it.
Oh yeah.
But anyways,
Oops.
I forgot. Yeah, but anyways, like, his podcast name that he wants to start is Let's Be Racist.
Oh no.
And I'm like,
that's a turnoff already.
that's what I said. I said, I don't think that's the best name you can
No.
choose. And he goes, no, listen to my idea. He goes, the podcast is about talking about racism to like get over the hump
No.
and like trying to talk about it and have those discussions. And I was like, man, that's just a horrible name.
It's a horrible
Let's
name.
Be Racist makes you sound like you're like a KKK podcast
Yeah.
or
I'm
something.
gonna get
bro. Like,
canceled and sued in
yeah,
episode
you can't. There's no
1.
way you couldn't even upload. Like, what platform is gonna let you have
And
that?
even if I was scrolling and I saw that name, I wouldn't even want to know what it's about.
Yeah.
I would completely skip over that. Even if
And-
it was black people, I would not even listen to that. I wouldn't even want to like,
So-
no.
So let's just put it out to the audience. Make sure you think long and hard of what you are choosing to name, and like, don't make that quick decision. And a lot of people change their name. I mean, look at rappers and stuff.
Yeah.
Look how many rappers had some whack ass names before they became up and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then they like changed their name. And like, I'm sure a lot of these comedians and stuff had
yeah.
nicknames
Yeah.
and stuff that you cycled throughout the years and things like that. And
Like
it's just weird choices.
one of the comedians we were just looking at, the BB name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say it, but he was telling me that one time he used to just go by that. Like, that was his name. That's how he was introduced to the stage. And he said after he got finished performing, he went backstage and he said one of the I'll tell y'all her name afterwards, but a super national comedian was like, "What the fuck did they call you?" And she was like, "And you really go by that?" And he was like, yeah. And he was like dead serious. Like, that's what I want my name to be. She was like, no, that's not how you do business. So you guys see how I had his first name, his stage name, and then his last name. She was like, if you want to have like a stage name, still add your name, your government name around it.
Yeah,
that way,
right.
because you want people to know who the fuck you are. She's like, are you going to be 60 years old and that's how you want to be introduced to the stage? Like, you got to definitely think really hard about what you want your business name to be.
You going to be Flavor Flav at 66?
Like, for real, though.
Shit, what is Meta World Peace? Isn't that his name still?
Yeah.
That's a kind of a funny name to like be. It's like, damn, bro, how do you like when you're filling out an application or something? That must take you forever. Like, put that whole name down and shit like that. But like, it's definitely one of those things you gotta think about it because it's like there's different scenarios that will come up in your life. And it's like, do I do, There's times where your name may not always fit where you want it to fit. And you kind of have to edit it here and there. And you're like, maybe I should kind of scale this back or whatever. Yeah. Now, like with our name is like, it's stupid, but I can't tell you how many countless, like I have all of our podcast information on the back of my car. So I'd use my Cricut and I put like our podcast on there, our Apple podcast, like all the different links, and then all of our social medias I have. Because I'm like, it's free advertising. Yeah. I'm driving around anyways, might as well advertise. I can't tell you how many times I've just been driving down the highway or something, somebody will pull up and they'll show the phone and like they're following us or something. Nice. Or they'll literally message me on a social media and be like, I just seen your car, ha ha ha. Like, I'm definitely following you now just because of the name and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, it is funny, but, and like I always thought, I was like, damn, like, is that the best choice? But then like at the end of the day, it's like, it works. Like, it works. People laugh about it. And it's going to be one of those things you kind of remember. And it's like, oh, I remember. That's kind of like one of those oddball names. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like kind of making yourself out because there are a lot of people out there that have similar names. And it's like you go to look somebody up and you find a whole different person. And you're like, that's not the person I was looking for.
Yeah. You're selling Asian bitches.
Which I find that completely hilarious.
Yeah.
That somebody would think you were doing that.
Me too.
Yeah. Do you have any last questions or anything before we get into the closing of the episode?
No, I don't really have any other questions. I just want to say it was an honor to be here, and I'm glad that we met you, and feel like it was meant to happen.
Christian, do you have a name like Big Crispy, by the way? Or do you just go by Christian on here?
Just Christian.
Okay. CC Klein. I mean, that's about as closest to his nickname. Do you have anything for us that you want to know? Or are we going to eventually be on yours and we'll tell you all about us?
Yeah, that would actually be cool. Like, we should definitely do another show and then I get to interview you guys.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Like I said, definitely like it's one of those things, and hopefully we grow this relationship. And, I hope the fans enjoyed this episode. We'll definitely put all your guys' social medias and stuff in the link in the description.
Thank you.
You got big shows coming up, which I'm actually kind of excited. Like, I know you kind of took a break on some of them, but I'm actually excited to see those come out and things like that.
Thank you.
And definitely be ready for the October 1st release.
Yes.
Of the TikTok issue of the SlapStik magazine, right? That's what it is. Yep. Completely. Mm-hmm. Didn't want to butcher the name or anything. Yeah. I always forget.
But I do like to clarify because one thing. Okay, so you guys see how I have SlapStik comedy. So one thing I noticed is, like, even though it's other brands are spelt with the C, like one day so at first I started with just SlapStik and I was like, I wonder if people really know what that is. And I felt like I needed clarification. So then I changed my website to SlapStik Comedy and I was like, I felt like it was too long. So now my website is Comedy Slaps. Which people get that. Yeah. But one day I just typed in SlapStik and I was like, let me see what the fuck comes up. They have all kind of shit under SlapStik. SlapStik skateboard, SlapStik, like all kind of shit. And I was like, I'm glad that I clarify that it's comedy.
Yeah,
like, that part is important to me.
The legit, remember that's SLAP like slap and then STIK.
You got it.
No C.
No C.
Don't put that C in there.
Leave it out.
We ain't sticking people.
ComedySlaps.com.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And like I said, and shout out to this original magazine that you kind of passed off to us. Yeah, Christian can show the camera. I fucking love this, and I told you, I'm gonna frame this shit. Please. And I hope to God that one day, like, somebody just walks in my house and they're like, "Damn, you got the OG copy of the SlapStik magazine." Like, that's where we're hoping you get to one day, and like we're wishing upon that success and everything. And we'd love to be a part of it and help you out in any ways. And like, even with us, like, even if we're successful or anything, this is a relationship.
Oh yeah,
we would bring you along the same thing, because it's like you gave us the platform to come on here and talk with you and everything, and it's like it's much appreciated, because it's like you were honestly probably one of the true like first guests that we did not know anything about.
Oh, wow.
You're like, without having somebody that we knew or a connection or whatever.
Yeah,
you were honestly the first guest ever that we've had that we've known nothing about, and we've just kind of come and through a relationship and messaging.
Got to learn a lot.
So I'm glad you were the first one.
Me too. Thank you.
And I know people are going to love it, because they've been wanting us to reach out to different things. Mm-hmm. And when they see the people that you've worked with and everything, they're just going to, I hope it blows their mind. And
Me too.
Come flooding your stuff, and we just get you started off on the right foot, because we got all them shows coming up and the podcast coming back out again and everything. And you said you have planned of 5 shows, right? You want to do throughout the week?
Yep.
So we're going to make sure to get everyone on there. And if you want to send me your team's information, I'd be more than happy to put their social medias in the description and everything too.
Okay.
Give love to everybody, because like you said, it's a team effort. It's
not just love.
It's not just a one person thing. And like, we can't thank you enough for that. And like you said, we appreciate everything you've done for us. Even just having us on.
This was fun. And you're a very good host, I must say. And Christian, you're fucking hilarious too over there. But yeah, this was fun. I'm glad we did this tonight. We spent 6 hours together. So
I know it was one of those things.
It was a vibe.
Like, it turned in from like we're just checking out the space. It's like, fuck it, we might as well do a podcast.
Yeah.
While we're here, and it's awesome. And like, obviously everything isn't fully set up 100% yet.
Right.
And I can't wait to see it fully set up. But once we do get it fully set up and stuff, we'd love to be back and do more podcasts and just do more things. And we might have to borrow your green screen every now and then, because I would love to do some stuff.
Whenever you need it.
Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, damn, bro, we could use the green screen for something.
Yeah.
Like, I might have to invest in one of those myself, but I don't know if we have enough room in our studio at my house.
You can always use mine. No problem.
That's awesome. See, and that's the thing. It's like, do you have anything you want to say to the people?
Just make sure you check out my website, comedyslaps.com. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We just started our TikTok channel. Everything is under SlapStik Comedy. And don't forget to leave the C out of SlapStik. That's how you'll find us.
Yes, sir. And then we're going to get into our song of the day that we do every single day. And this is your choice here.
Yes.
We got Outkast. What is the name of the song again?
Liberation, baby.
Liberation. We appreciate everybody. And like I said, definitely check out the links in the description. We appreciate everybody for listening and supporting us along the way in the journey that we have coming in the future, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And we hope you stick around and get to see all the big things that come.
Yeah.
And, it's truly not done without the support of our listeners.
Nothing.
And your listeners combined.
That's true.
It's like we cannot do the job we do and have the fun we do without you. Mm-hmm. And, we appreciate every single person. And no matter what, anybody can message us at any time. And we would love to give you advice and help out in whatever we can. Try to do our best and support you along the way, because we want you to live your dream just like we're living our dream.
And now we're friends. So you guys, anytime you need me, anytime you want to pick my brain, hit me up.
Will do.
Always.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody. And we're going to get right into Song of the Day. And we'll see you right back here again next Friday.
Night, babies.